Hello, fellow AFL enjoyers. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. It's Matsa here, and I'm going to be doing my Supercoach team reveal. So this team reveal is happening after the Melbourne-Sydney game and before the Carlton game, just for some context. And I don't like long intros in these videos, so I'm just going to go straight into it. So pick number one is Nick Dacos. Easy pick. We saw his scoring potential once again in the preseason, and the only reason he would go out in this of my team is if he has a Goulden type performance where he shows that he's human and that his price might actually go down this year. So easy pick for Nick Dacos. Next one is Dan Houston. An interesting one because he doesn't really get a lot of kick-ins for a halfback, but he's so damaging with his kicking that they're always looking for him. He almost has that type, Doherty type role, coming off halfback and, being the main distributor. So they're always looking for him. Pretty easy pick in my eyes. The next one we're going to go for is Harry Sheasel. I'm a North boy, so it's hard. It'll be hard to watch every week him get 120s and him not being in my team. So he comes in. He has a very good role for us. Him and Fisher and Colby McKercher will be using the ball quite a lot. But yeah, Sheasel maybe even a little bit further up on the ground. So yeah, a little bit of mid-time. So yeah, he's in. Next one is Hayden Young. He's got that midfield role. He has that midfield role. They're going to look for him because he's a good kick as well. He tackles a lot. I had him in draft last year. I managed to get him in a trade last year and he killed it for me. So very comfortable to pick him up again. All right, next one. He'll be playing tonight, so hopefully he does okay. But regardless of what he does, as long as he stays in the team, I think he's a very safe selection. So Zach Williams, he's been an 80, 90 average in the past. So at 216, very safe selection. He can be one of the last dudes that you trade out of your team and upgrade. So easy selection there. The next one, based on yesterday's performance, Blake Howes, 91. Jake Bowie also had an injury, so he has better job security. So he comes in. I'm happy to have him on field for the moment. The next one, Zach Reed. Job security should be very strong over at Essendon. And he's actually a half-decent ball user as well for a tall guy. So, yeah. And also I think Ridley's out. Not sure how long for, so that solidifies his role even more. He goes in. The next pick, another key defender, is Ethan Phillips, a 102 defender who is a decent interceptor, and he has decent job security because all of the Hawthorn defenders have been injured. So he goes in there. Of course, he's pending round one selection, and I'd be very shocked if he didn't get it. Next guy we're going to put in the team is Marcus Bontempelli. With him, I tried to justify not selecting him, but it's just too hard for me not to have him in the team. He is the Bulldogs' number one guy. He's a tackler. He's a machine. He's a beautiful kick of the footy. He's might be the best midfielder in the competition. Hard not to select him. Unless something dramatic happens before the start of round one, he's in the team. The next one, Zach Butters or LDU. That's a position that is going to change, and I'll figure it out closer to round one, but it's going to be one of those two. I wish I could have both. At the moment, I can't fit in both. The thing with Butters is that he had a period at the start of the season last year where he wasn't getting CBAs. When he did get CBAs, his score was astronomical, as we all know. So there's still value there. I think he's probably about 5 points underpriced, which would price him up at the 650 plus mark. And I see a similar thing with LDU where he is a player who had a little lull period in the middle of the period. He had a bit of a lull in the middle of the season last year. Started off hot, little weird period where apparently he was injured. And then at the end of the season, he killed it when he came back. And he averaged about 120 in the last few rounds when he came back. So obviously there's big value there as well. Next, we're going straight to the real value selections, and that is Martin. So Nick Martin has that Dacos role apparently, or appearingly, and he's going to get a lot of kicks. He's going to be looked for to distribute the ball going forward. So he's come into the team. Great value. He's going to get defender status, so we can shift him back there if we want to. Then we have Matt Crouch, who, as we saw in the preseason, is playing as a CBA mid. At the end of last year, we'll have a little look because we saw that when they started. Let's have a look. When he was playing as a CBA midfielder, he also looked very good. Oh, look at these ads, man. We don't need this. I don't want to see this, man. Come on. So these last few games that he played, we highlight all of these. Oh, that's fantasy scores, isn't it? Is that fantasy? No, that's Supercoach. We highlight all of those. 108 average for 490. That's very solid. And he's still in form. We've seen what he did in the preseason. I think he had 100 within like 60% time on ground, maybe less. So yeah, value is there. Another one with value is Ollie Wines. So I've gone full value selections here. And I know it's risky, but the way I see it is if at least one of them becomes a season-long keeper, I'm happy. Crouch or Wines could be flicked at their bye, is the way I see it. Wines could turn into Goulden or LDU, who would just come off their bye right when Wines has his. And Crouch has the very last bye. So I'm going to get scores for him until then. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for high scores this year. The most uncomfortable pick for me, to be honest with you, is Riley Bonner. And this is very Godfather influenced, I'll be honest with you. He reckons he's the biggest must-have, right? And I believe him. The way he's been going in this preseason, 110. If he gets even close to that, if he gets a 95, you'd be very happy with what he's providing you. But the only thing is with Bonner is we've known him as a hack at Port. You know, he hasn't been the greatest player. We don't really rate him that highly. But maybe that was just the Ken Hinckley influence. I don't know. We'll find out. It's an uncomfortable selection, but he's in there at the moment. Next one, Colby into the team. Very happy that North drafted him. A very nice consolation price to Harley Reid. He looks excellent. So he is in the starting team. I don't have any concerns with him with scoring potential, even though he had an average game in the preseason hit out. That's fine. I have faith in him. Next one, Riley Sanders, another one I have high faith in. He's going to get a lot of CBAs this year. I think he had the most handball receives in the preseason game, which I think is a good sign that guys are looking for him, or at least he's making the right runs to be the guy getting the ball. Easy selection there, and most people will have those guys. Roberts comes in. He's one that you could start with his role. He got 76 yesterday, 91 fantasy, which shows that there is scope for improvement Supercoach wise. So he is in there. The next one is Weir. Seems to have locked down a spot on the wing for GWS. Half decent scoring potential there as well. So if he keeps his spot, he'll be a fine selection. And can't forget another CBA mid, Clark. I wish I could start Roberts and Clark, but there's not that many options in the midfield in regards to rookies. And I don't really want to... I could get rid of Bonner perhaps and make something work there, but I like the way this team is sort of looking at the moment. All right. I'm going to leave a certain selection last. There's two selections that are swing selections for me that might change. At the moment, locked in, and to be honest with you, I don't understand how anyone doubted this guy. I don't care that Laddams had a decent preseason game. Grundy is a number one ruck. He deserves all the time in there. And they have McLean as an option, who they would rather be forward, and he might get 10%, 20% ruck time. We saw what Grundy did without Gorn last year. I think he averaged about 120, 130, and I had him in my team last year. Unfortunately, Gorn came back really early, and that stuffed up my plans last year. But this year, it's going to be all Grundy. He might end up as F1, F2, top 2-3 rucks minimum at the end of the year. For the moment here, I'm going to hold off on my R2 spot. We're putting Naismith there. Can I sub him into that? No, I can't do that. All right, that's fine. Anyway, we've got Naismith. I'm not sure with Naismith. If Nank comes back in 1 or 2 weeks, then it might be pointless to have him. So that might become Cohen, Livingston, or Maley. We'll see how we go. And now, this is a very Melbourne versus Sydney influenced pick. Isaac Heaney was a CBA mid, and he looked amazing. And we all knew that he had that capability. So he goes in there. It's between him and Luke Jackson. And I think both of them are a lone player, we'll say. They're dudes that you're going to take the 110, 120s from until he's by and when the other midfielders come back, and Luke Jackson when Sean Darcy comes back. But because Heaney's cheaper and I'm using the player for this purpose, I'm more comfortable with picking Heaney. So he comes in. Another North boy comes in, and that's the Fish. Zach Fisher comes in. He's got that distributor role of halfback. I think he's one of the most safest forward selections. Very likely going to be a keeper this year, unless we decide to change his position. But I don't think that's the case. I think he was handpicked by Clarko for this role. So he comes in. The next selection is Fifey, who is a full-time CBA mid this year. So if he stays fit, he'll average 90, 95, potential keeper. We don't know. But yeah, the issue with him is obviously injuries because he hasn't had a full season in years. But we know what his scoring potential is like, and it's obscene. So he comes in. The F4 spot is another spot that is in contention at the moment, and I'll show you what the plan is there later. We do have Harley Reid in the team at the moment. Harley Reid, I think we saw in the midfield how damaging he can be in the in the preseason game against Adelaide, who is a strong midfield. So he selects himself there. Next one is Darcy Wilson. Not entirely comfortable with him on the field, but he should get at least a 60, you'd hope, after the 100 that he got in the game against North. You'd think he goes about 60, 70, which is acceptable from the F6 spot. Next one is this guy, 130, who I made fun of Dino, fellow podcast member Dino. He drafted him so early. I'm like, bro, you've done no research and you've picked Sexton this early. I think he picked him like maybe before I'd even selected Fisher, or maybe just after. I'm not sure. But he got 130 in the preseason and he's made Dino look very, very good. The next pick is Harvey Thomas, and he got 70 in the preseason game. Time of ground 70% as well. So I don't think he's a safe selection. I don't know about his job security, but the scoring potential's there. He could easily become someone else. I don't know, Cadman or something. But it's these last two positions where I'm deliberating, and I still think, regardless of their performances yesterday, I think Jordan is a good selection. And I still think that Gawn is a good selection. Gawn had one bad game, but the thing is, next week he's going to go 180 and it won't matter. You know what I mean? He's that type of player. So I still think he's a good selection. But I do have the opportunity here to go an extra rookie, and that would be an extra rookie in the forward line, which would be Cadman, whose job security looks good, has a couple easy games first up, I don't need to search this guy's name up. He's right up top. Timmy English. So that's the dilemma now. So is it English and Cadman or Gawn and Jordan? I think both. I think Gawn is still a great selection. I think he'll still average the 115. English is probably safer, and he doesn't have that bye. His first bye is the very last bye. So he'll have constant scoring straight through. I'm going to hit the save team. We're going to fix it up a little bit and see what it looks like. We're going to sub in Timmy, and we're not going to sub in anyone else. No, that's fine. So this is how the team looks, and I think the only drawback I will say is the fact that the midfield is not full with the uber primos that I'd like. There's no LDU, there's no Sarong, who's also a great selection. There's no Dawson, who's another great selection. Those are the dudes who I'd like to fit in, but the value is so clear in the midfield this year that it's hard to knock back. But yeah, that is the team. And yeah, the only selections that might change, as I was saying earlier, is English might become Gorn and Cadman or Harvey Thomas could become Jimmy Jordan, who I still think is a good selection. But yeah, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about that scenario as well. What would you do? English and a rookie versus Gorn and Jimmy Jordan. I have 41K in the bank still, so there's still money to play with. Maybe I can try to sneak in a Hustwaite or something like that, who's another good selection. Yeah, there's a few dudes. I like Salem as a pick still. I know he only got a 90, but he had a lot of clangers. So if he cleans that up, he's also a good selection. Yo, Coleman. There's still some dudes who I kind of like and I wouldn't mind fitting in, but I can't at the moment. But yeah, tell me what you think. If there should be any changes. Tell me about your team. Tell me about your dilemmas. I can try help. I'm not the ultimate authority on Supercoach, but I can help and I'm willing to help. So yeah, thank you very much. Like and subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Check out our ladder prediction as well. See what you think. I think we did all right this year. And our first tip went well with Sydney over Melbourne. So yeah, let us know what you think. And yeah, thank you very much for listening if you got this far. Thanks. Bye.